Have you ever tried to draw a tree diagram of a sentence and ended up confused where each word should go? This is exactly the problem faced by English students in the study I'm sharing today. In 2024, 22 fifth semester students were asked to draw a tree diagram from real news tests. The researcher wanted to know what mistakes do students make most often and why. And for the next few minutes, I will guide you through their result and discussion, what they found, what it means, and why it matters for teaching syntax. And here are the main findings. Out of 120 sentences in about 900 words, student makes 206 mistakes in total. Most of them, 168 cases, were mistakes in word category. Then 42 cases were mistakes in note labeling, and 11 cases were mistakes in phrase structure rules. This shows at a glance where students struggle the most. Understanding the word function is the biggest challenge. Let me show you some concrete examples from this. The first and the largest problem was word category error. 168 cases like this. They labeled however as a verb, but it's actually a conjunction or an adverb. They labeled cringe-worthy as an adverb, but it's an adjective. They labeled the word question as a verb, but in the sentence it's a noun. This shows that students often know the words, but not their function in a particular sentence. When the word class is wrong, the entire tree diagram becomes inaccurate. So, word category mistakes were not small, they affect the whole structure and meaning of the diagram. The second type of error was note labeling errors. There were 42 cases mistakes in total. In a tree diagram, every words and phrases must have correct labels. N for noun, V for verb, NP for noun phrase, VP for verb phrase, and so on. But students often mislabel them. They label to as a preposition when it should be an infinitive marker in the given text. They label tree as an adjective, but it's actually a numeral. They label there as an adverb, but in the sentence it's an existential subject. This may look small, but one wrong label can change the meaning of the whole diagram. This shows that students not only confused about the word category, but also confused about how to apply a correct syntactic label consistently. The third type of error is about phrase structure rules. The third and the smallest problem was phrase structure errors. 11 cases where students mislabeled a phrase as a full sentence. For example, they labeled a verb phrase as a sentence, even though it had no subject and a predicate. A sentence needs a subject and a predicate to form a complete thought. A phrase like running quickly, it cannot stand alone as a sentence because it had no subject and predicate. When students confuse this, their tree diagram breaks at the top level. So far, we've seen the three main types of error: word category, non labeling, and phrase structure rules. Next, let's see what students themselves said about these challenges. Af- After the tree diagram, a questionnaire was given, and here what they say. 82% found word categorization is hard, especially word with more than one function. 89% were confused by note labels, like preposition versus infinitive markers. 75% want more visuals and interactive way to learn syntax, and 60% ask for guided exercise with quick feedback. This feedback is powerful. It confirms that the problem we saw in the data are exactly the area when student feels they need support. So the number and the voices tell the same story. Now, what this finding means? These findings show three key things. First, Mistakes in word category and note levels come from weak understanding of basic syntax rules and too little practice with real sentences. This matches what Culliver and Poole found in the earlier studies. Second, the mistakes are connected. If you misidentify a word category, you are likely to mislabel the note and misread the page structure. This means teaching syntax must train students to see how all parts work together, not in isolation. Third, the study recommends more context-based exercise, like using real news tasks, step-by-step scaffolded practice, and even using syntax software so students can visualize and self-correct their tree diagram. And of course, there are limitations. The study was done in only one institution, and it relied mainly on students' written work without observing their thinking process. So we cannot yet say if the same type of errors happen in other contexts. But even with these limits, the message is clear. Understanding word function is the key to accurate tree diagram. And in short, the study reminds us that mastering syntax is not only about knowing the rules, but about applying them correctly in a real context. Thank you for your attention.